not seen, this is called GMO Part 2, but she's going to cover some bases and go from there. But you have on your sheet your link to your previous class. So if you haven't seen the previous GMO class, I would encourage you guys to go to that link and see that. Have you guys seen the previous GMO class? So a lot of fantastic stuff. We have to do more today, and we're excited. We always want to continue to improve upon things. And so you guys hang on your seat because you have a great teacher and health coach that's going to be leading class, my beautiful wife and better half, Erin, okay?
Thank you. Delighted to be here and excited about what we're covering. Once again, it's GMO Part 2. And if you say, oh, I haven't had Part 1, no worries, we'll cover it. But then if you need to know a little bit more information about Part 1, you have the link for the class. There's a battle in the garden, continued Part 2. Now, 1 to 100. How vigilant were you to avoid GMO foods when eating out? Just make a mental note. Or did you even think about GMO, a non-GMO food when eating out?
I did not think.
Nothing.
No.
Before this, no.
Okay. And how vigilant were you this week to avoid bringing GMO food home?
I started doing it after I started.
Okay,
class.
exactly. Yeah, a lot of times people have said, yes, after that first class, they made some changes. So what are we going to cover today? From a biblical perspective, and then we're going to keep who are the current keepers of the garden, because it's important to know the players behind everything that goes on around us, because that really, their perspective is very powerful. And what are GMOs and how are they formed, the 5 health risks of GMOs, and what we can do to eliminate exposure to GMOs, and then lastly, how to combat the impact of GMOs. And what is the name of the first garden that you think of in the Bible?
Eden.
Eden.
Garden of Eden.
Yes, the Garden of Eden. Correct. And who was tending the garden?
Adam.
Yes, man, his name was Adam. But now it's the multi-million-dollar agribusiness. Let's look at the players. We have Monsanto. Has anyone heard of Monsanto? What do you know about them?
They launched a lawsuit about herbicides.
Yes, yes. Do you know what?
Specifically Roundup.
Roundup, exactly. Do you know what other type of role Monsanto has played?
They kind of try to control making farmers buy their food, their seed.
Mm-hmm. They were also one of the makers of Agent Orange. Have you ever heard of that?
Right.
Oh, yes.
And after the war, they had to find something to do with it. So the war on weeds. The war on weeds took precedent.
Oh, they knew about it.
Yeah. So Agent Orange, and they also began producing aspirin, and that's where your caffeine comes from, Monsanto. And also, in 1901, they produced an artificial sweetener. Can anyone remember what it's called? Saccharin, exactly. So they have a long history at the table, and we didn't even know they were there. So what is Monsanto's plan? Very simple. No food shall be grown that we don't own. Therefore, you have to pay for it, you have to pay me, then you get it. What is one of the other players? Have you heard of Bayer?
Oh, yes.
What do you know about them?
Bear aspirin.
Aspirin. And Bayer trademarked the name Harriman, just to let you know.
Trademark what?
Harriman, the name Harriman.
Carolyn.
Yes,
Okay.
I thought that was quite interesting. And Syngenta, are you familiar with them? Well, in 2004, Syngenta Seeds purchased Garth, the North American corn and soybean business of Advanta, as well as Golden Harvest Seeds. And this is a global industry, and it was owned a Chinese state-owned enterprise. So international. So not only do we have big business at the table, we have international business at the table. Anybody know anything about DuPont?
Make paints,
Paints and what else?
chemicals.
Cellophane. Yes, chemicals, Freon, cellophane. It expanded its food business by acquiring the Denmark-based Danisco, a food ingredient and enzyme company, and DuPont and Dow Chemical merged to form Dow DuPont. So the guests at the table are getting larger. And then Dow is the producer of Saran Wrap. And Dow and Eli Lilly, an American pharmaceutical company, formed Dow Elanco, a joint venture to produce agricultural products. So, and BASF, what about them? They're the largest chemical company, largest chemical producer in the world. Okay, so there's a vested interest to have chemical involved in everything so that they get paid. Okay, so you might say, who is ensuring the consumer's safety? Anybody know? Who's keeping us safe?
The government, supposed to.
Who's supposed to? What part of the government?
FDA should be.
FDA, you would think. The FDA
Should.
should.
They don't care.
They're in on it.
Do they not care?
No.
As long as they get paid, that's all necessary.
Exactly. And you will be amazed that many of the corporate, executives in our government for the FDA were former employees of guess who?
Those companies.
Monsanto. Exactly. Hillary Clinton, Clarence Thomas, yes, he used to work for Monsanto. So the agency scientists were warning them about GMO and the whole process. And they're saying there's allergens, toxins, new diseases will come about, and there will be some nutritional problems. But then they were overridden by the bureaucrats. Michael Taylor, in charge of FDA policy and former Monsanto attorney, later Monsanto vice president, now the U.S. food safety czar. We're in good hands. Would you agree? And the FDA declares GMOs are no different. The agency is not aware of any information showing that foods derived from these new methods differ from other foods in any meaningful or uniform way. Okay? But there again, you have your scientists saying animal feeds derived from genetically modified plants present unique animal and food safety concerns. I would urge you to eliminate statements that suggest that the lack of information can be used as evidence that for no regulatory concerns. I.e., if there's no news, it's good news. If we're not sure what it does, it must be good. And the scientists were saying you shouldn't say that. And so there's an FDA letter to Monsanto, one of the major companies. And they said basically, based on the safety and nutritional assessment you have conducted, it is our understanding that Monsanto has concluded that corn products derived from this new variety are now materially different in composition, safety, and other relevant parameters from corn currently on the market, and that the genetically modified corn does not raise issues that would require pre-market review or approval by FDA. As you are aware, it is Monsanto's responsibility to ensure that foods marketed by the firm are safe. Would you say that's the wolf keeping the hen house? Now, what exactly is a genetically modified organism? Usually people say, well, we've been genetically modifying things for years. Well, it's the way this is coming about that makes it dangerous and unsafe for consumption. They say, well, poodles, lab gets a poodle doodle, a labradoodle, but they're all dogs. Now, you don't know what you get when you put a pig and a frog together. So you might say, well, technology demands that we genetically modify. Well, not necessarily, because when you genetically modify things, you separate their original DNA, you snip things out, you put it back in, you rearrange it, and then you shoot it with a gun with DNA material from non-like species. And guess what? You don't know what's going to happen. You know that it's in the gene somewhere, but you don't know where, and you don't know the effect. So therefore, once you do all of that, you get things that are no longer recognized by the body as food. So, what does the body do with it? Well, the first possible cause of problems. The process of creating a GMO crop creates unpredicted changes in DNA and plant composition. So you thought you were eating corn, but the body doesn't recognize it. RNA changes, foreign proteins, and natural compounds are altered. Therefore, you have altered nutritional value. So if I have corn that used to be very nutritious, and now I've altered the genetics of the corn, I no longer have the same nutritional benefits of that product. For example, soy, increased anti-nutrient, lectin. You have allergens, lignin is disease-related, possibly. Reduced protein, fatty acid, and essential amino acid, and phytoestrogens. And that's really significant for what everybody, especially young children, older women, and women in general, men in general, because you can have a lot of challenges when you introduce foreign estrogens into the body. Now, the second cause of problems. The protein produced by the inserted gene may be harmful. No one knows. BT in crops. Those are toxins where if an insect bites the corn, they get the toxin. And it ruptures and it punches holes into their GI tract and they die. But guess what? When we eat it, guess what happens to our gut? Same thing. To the point that when it's given to pigs in the United States that is served or fed BT corn, it ruptures their intestines to the point that their intestines could no longer be used for sausage casings. So they'd have to import the pork or pig intestines from out of the country to use as pig casings. So if it's doing it for the pigs, guess what? It might do it for us. And they have 30 out of 90 days of a mouse eating BT corn, multiple immune system responses, and increased infertility and low birth rate, and liver and kidney toxicity, blood pressure challenges, allergies, infections and disease, high blood sugar, and anemia. Does it sound like anything that humans get? You better believe it. BT corn report. Farmers say pigs and cows became sterile. Do you know anybody having infertility challenges and they don't know why? Some of it may be food related. And inhaled BT pollen, a plethora of allergies and symptoms there that we can all see. Third reason, the protein may be different than intended. And fourth problem is a herbicide residue. What happens when you use a certain amount of a chemical and it no longer has the desired effect? What do we do?
Make it stronger.
Make it stronger, or do what?
Throw it away.
Throw it away?
Use more of
Or
it?
who said it?
Use more of it?
Yes, use more. We use more. And so what is happening, you say, okay, well, a little Roundup worked this year, but now next year I'm having to use just a little bit more. And you ration, well, just a little bit more. And you're right. And once it gets to the point you use more and more, you're saturating the environment, your soil, and then they will say eventually, we need something else, and we'll call it Liberty Link. Because once Monsanto began to get sued, they got sold. They were bought out by Liberty Link. That sounds so patriotic, doesn't it? I'll give you some good old Liberty Link. Liberty, freedom, yes, right, wrong answer. Chicks fed Liberty Link corn died at twice the rate as when they were using glyphosate. Okay,
Is that the ones that Tyson sells us?
maybe. No telling, and you never know. Okay, and so, like I say, residue, and you're saturating the environment, and many people say it'll be hundreds of years before it can actually be cleared from the environment, even if you're eating GMO food. It's soil, and it goes into the water, and industry is not always as scrupulous as they need to be with disposal of the waste, or simply rain with runoff and things like that. And also the fifth possible problem is when you have the gene transfer to your gut bacteria or into our DNA, we begin to be a factory for the producer of that bacteria. How many people, well, based on what we know, since this is a very informed group, what organ do you need to take care of even before you start a detox?
Digestion.
Digestion, exactly. That's where it all starts. And when you have your digestion system producing the toxin, that's really a serious issue because it affects the whole body, even the brain and our thoughts and our ability to think. That's just an example of how it works. You get it some kind of way, and then the human gut, it grows, and then bacteria just all over the place. So a summary. Possible effects of BT corn or GMO produce is disruption of DNA, GM proteins, changes in protein, herbicide residue, and transfer of the genes into our system. Now, how vigilant will you be about GMO and looking for the no GMO sticker on food? Because sometimes the more we know, the better consumers we can become, more informed. And you may notice that big business goes out of their way to keep us ignorant, either by deceptive advertisement or media blitz that make everything look so cute and delicious and yummy. You just gotta have it and you don't think. That's killing me. Or they make it real cheap. Oh, just 99 cents. That's a whole meal for 99 cents. That's just great. Well, I pay $3 for organic something if I can get a whole meal for 99 cents. Now, how do we avoid GMOs? And as we studied last time, we can buy organic. We can, become informed consumers by using, being attentive to the non-GMO labels and using non-GMO shopping guides and avoid at-risk ingredients, i.e. corn. Most of the corn is genetically modified. Most of the soy is genetically modified. But also, it's important to realize it's not just in food, because sometimes you have those products in our skincare, mascara, your lotions, different body care products that you don't think about, but then, because a lot of things have wheat in it. You don't even think wheat belongs in there. So when you read your ingredients, you never know what we're slathering on our bodies or what's in the sunscreen or where it came from. And then you can have the non-GMO shopping guides that help to even have it. Some of them also have little apps, so you can scan food or look up food while you're shopping and find out if it's on the naughty or nice list, so to speak. So, how do we stop genetic engineering of our food supply? How do we stop it?
Raise it ourselves.
Yeah,
Raise it ourselves.
you can raise things yourself.
Go to the Amish.
Okay. Exactly. You vote with your dollars because I think that's how we have as many non-GMO products and organic products as we have in places like Walmart, Kroger's, and a lot of the common places, even in Aldi's. I remember when they didn't have organic in Walmart. Now they're not only organic, but some of them are local, from local producers, at least it says local. Tennessee, might be Memphis, I don't know how local it is, but when the consumer demands different, we get different. Okay? And in the United States, we're at a tipping point because that we're at the point of critical mass. When you have informed consumers that demand better, businesses will rise up to meet the expectation and to keep satisfied customers. And there's campaigns for healthier eating in America throughout school lunches. And doctors are encouraged to tell people to use GMO foods and healthy, conscious shoppers. Like I say, when we vote with our dollars, independent third-party non-GMO verification. Because when you leave it for the fox to keep the hen house, they'll say anything. Yeah, 100% pure. Or they say no growth hormones and things that never had growth hormone in it. They're not honest all the time. These are other resources, videos, and books that are out. And Jeffrey M. Smith is, if you ever need to look him up, or look up somebody that has been a trailblazer in a lot of the GMO research and things like that, and bring it to the public's knowledge. He's a good name, because a lot of those books are by him. So you can also, and when you don't want to buy it yourself, you can become a good friend of the farmer. This is our farmer Todd and his wife, and we deal with Sweeter Day Farms. And to let you know that everybody that sells produce at the farmer's market, it doesn't make it automatically organic. Because many of them use Roundup, and I didn't know that until I specifically asked. Because I'm like, oh man, this food, this is just beautiful. Do you use Roundup? Yep, we do. Like, oh man. I'm like, scratch them off the list. So he's Todd at Sweeter Day Farms is a certified naturally grown. You might say, what's the difference? The money. The money that it takes for a farm to say that they're organic is usually beyond the budget for a small farm. I mean, because once you go through the red tape to get everything done, you don't have a farm. I thought you were about to say something, Mr. Kennedy. You good? Okay. And here's a sticker, USDA, organic. And you're dirty 12 and you clean 15. And this is handy when you are on a limited budget or you have certain foods that's on the dirty list that you really love and your body tolerates it well, it works well for you, but you want to get the best possible quality food. For example, it might be strawberries. When strawberries are in season, you might go a little bit out of your way to get organic strawberries because the foods that don't have skins and that we eat the outside, they are the more susceptible. But for example, a pineapple, you're not going to eat the outside of the pineapple in most cases. And like a cantaloupe. But still, it's important to wash them. And because even your salads that says wash times 3, we had a gentleman that worked at the grocery store, said, you better wash that. They put it in a big vat of like chlorinated water or something, but that batch is there a long time. It's not changed after every bag of lettuce, no, it's just in a vat. So, and regular vinegar and water does wonders. I mean, because I know the vegetable sprays and stuff are very expensive, especially if you eat a lot of vegetables and you eat a lot of fruit. But yeah, vinegar does wonders. Now, we can make a difference by awareness, the power of the dollar, education, assess your needs, implement a personalized plan, and perimeter shopping, and support your naturally grown CSAs and buy organic. Okay, those are some things that we can do, and that's where we ended basically in part 1. But then after doing part 1, or actually while I was presenting part 1, I was doing the research for what are the solutions, what are some other things we can do. Because everything we've listed prior to this, what we're going to talk about now, was out there. Some things out there. But what can we do in here? Because in here is where we have the most control. Well, that's a wonderful question. And as we talked about in groups, sometimes the Press 360, proper hydration, oxygenation and food consumption, rest and relaxation, exercise and movement, stress management, to simplify, just simply slow down. And then your spirituality. And we'll look at all of this. First of all, water. And we always talk about water and the quality of water and the importance of water. Now, at the end, I'll just kind of give away, you're gonna get a resource at the end that's gonna cover in detail, in more detail, what I'm talking about now. Actually, it's gonna be this, Energy for Life. And it's gonna cover much of what we're gonna be talking about in this section, but water. What do you know about water? How much should you drink?
84 glasses a day. They say 8.
What? Half your body weight in ounces.
Thank you.
Okay.
You made me worried. That's now.
I think he was being a jokester.
You didn't
Yeah.
say what size glasses.
Exactly, that's why we go with half your weight in ounces of water. Because like I say, 8 glasses, if you have a little glass or a big glass, or if you're a big person or a little person, it just, so half your weight in ounces. And water fact, what is the percentage of our body weight is water? Anybody know?
87%.
About 80%.
Almost, not quite 80.
That's it, time.
Yeah, actually 70%. 70% of our body weight is water, okay? So that's very significant. And the water makes up 99% of the body's molecules. So it's very important. And how many phases of water or types of water did we learn about? Ice cube is the,
Solid.
steam is the, and water is the.
Liquid.
Have you heard of phase 4 water? Crystalline water is sometimes referred to as easy water. You have? Very good. Where does that reside?
Where does it reside?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I saw it in the store.
Easy water, you saw it before? Yeah, okay. You may have seen easy water or
Crystal Spring.
Crystal Spring, that's a brand.
Oh, okay.
But when we're talking about exclusion and easy water, which is for exclusion zone, is in the body. It's in between the cells and the rest of the water. Now, why is that so important? Well, that's important because in our bodies, we are more like a battery than you would ever want to think or believe. Positive and negative charges. are within the body. And that's what fuels the cells. And they also found out that there's enough energy on that, in that gradient, the positive and negative gradient in our bodies, that's as powerful as lightning striking. That's energy. It's in our body, okay? Took a lot to wrap our heads around. When I heard it, and I'm like, I don't know, and I looked and I studied and I read, and because I was like, that sounds kind of odd, but it's very, very powerful. And this is Dr. Gerald Pollack, and he discovered structured water, and water that can take on a crystalline-like format. And not only that, it carries information that our cells use. And you're like, what? That's what I said. So let's look at this for just a second. And I've been working on our technology, so. It's gonna work for me. If it's going.
You all learned in school, middle school, that water has three phases: solid, ice, liquid, and vapor. Well, we uncovered the fourth phase of water. It turns out that there are unexpected applications to this. The first one is getting energy from water. The way this water forms is very simple. Whenever water meets hydrophilic material, by hydrophilic I mean water loving, it undergoes a radical transformation. We were astonished to see this, that the water molecules are actually lined up with one another in some orderly fashion. Like a liquid crystal, if you will. It's H3O2. Particles and radiation molecules are progressively excluded from this zone that was sitting right next to the surface. We also call it the exclusion zone, or EZ for short. This fourth phase of water is not neutral. Typically, it's negatively charged, and the water just beyond it is positively charged. And as you might guess, if you stick two electrodes, one in the negative, one in the positive, you have a battery, and that battery can light a light bulb, for example, and we demonstrated that. And we found, to our great surprise, we really didn't expect it, that the input energy comes from light. We found that infrared light, that is the longer wavelengths, are extraordinarily powerful. Infrared energy is coming from all over. It's free, it doesn't cost us a nickel. And it's water, so it's renewable. So we think that it's possible that we can scale up this finding and make it commercially available. It could solve many of the energy problems of the world.
So, there's more in our control than often we know of, and it's important that we take advantage of that type of information. And as you notice, it's very economical. And what have we learned about things that are economical and very beneficial?
They don't want to back it.
Nobody backs it because no one can get rich off of it. And sometimes it's even demonized. Because, oh no, that will never work. That won't, that you have to buy the blah, blah, blah. You have to get the blah, blah, blah. You have to come to me for such and such. So, I was very impressed because as we focus on the root cause, and as we look at the cellular level, it made me ask the question, what is the thing that the cell needs the most? And people who are in Tai Chi know that there's something in the cell that's called a nickname, the powerhouse of the cell. Do you know what that's called?
Mitochondria.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Help me teach it. There you go. The mitochondria, we're gonna get to that in just a minute because mitochondria needs energy. And you need to get the energy from somewhere. And a lot of it is coming through the water. That's in the presence also of light.
So the
There- there-
conclusion of this is that what you're really talking about is energy. That's gonna give us energy. It's
Absolutely.
gonna get our water right.
Water and the energy producing mechanism that the water helps fuel. Okay? So it's a very important piece of the puzzle. Because how many people have joined the wellness program because they needed more energy? That is by far the most commonality that I've found, whether it's a young person or an older person, they say, I just don't have any energy. And so I started my search, and then I learned and learned. And so as you notice, Dr. Pollack also talked about the importance of light. Light helps to increase the effectiveness of the water and multiply its energetic potential. I thought that was very, very interesting. So you might say, it says light, especially infrared light and far infrared light, increases the easy water and its battery effect. Where do we get light from?
The sun.
The sun. And see, in places where people work in the sun a lot, they don't have a lot of these challenges. But we're inside under artificial lighting, or an industry has told us the sun is bad for you, put this poison on, it'll help. You know, and so, and all of that is by advertising, right? How did we learn about sunscreen? The sunscreen industry told us about it. And who said it was bad? The people selling sunscreen. Okay, so the light spectrum, and it's all the visible light spectrum, but then in your infrared is right outside of there. And you might say, what does this have to do with GMOs? Did I lose anybody? Mr. Kennedy got his
No,
life
I'm fine.
enhancement of oxygen
got it.
there. That's all
Yeah,
right.
I've
Increase
got
life. It's kind of like, what's the difference between mowing weeds and pulling weeds? What's the difference?
One, you're getting rid of them by pulling, you're getting rid of the roots. Mowing, you're leaving the roots and letting it grow back.
Absolutely. Root cause. Isn't that what Doc talks about here? The root cause. We're looking for the root cause. And when you strengthen the foundation, the building stands strong. The same, the root effect is on the cellular level. Therefore, a large part of the solution should also be on a cellular level. Okay? And the cell thrives when provided with energy. Okay? So an energetic cell, because every organ in the body has a cell of some sort. Every system, whether you're dealing with hormones, whether you're dealing with digestion, or whether you're dealing with your thinking, you're dealing with cells. And all of them have those powerhouses called the
And the concrete.
mitochondria. Very good. Mighty mitochondria. What's the next thing?
Oxygen.
What do we learn in Tai Chi about oxygen? Yeah, we need it. Yes, that's important. What else?
Deep breathing makes happy cells. Was that right?
That is right. That is right. The benefit of deep breathing, it stimulates the relaxation response. And we have 60 to 100 trillion cells in the body, right? And they conduct 2,000 to 5,000 major functions per second, right? Now, oxygen is a critical nutrient that we get with each breath. So the power of just deep breathing in itself not only makes them do the happy dance, but it provides them with the energy they need to produce ATP, adenosine triphosphate, right? And you might say, what is all that about? Well, that's on a cellular level, that's the fuel. ATP. The more ATP, the more energy you have, because you're able to fuel another pathway, the electron transport system. But 90% of our energy comes from what?
Sun.
90% of our energy comes from, who said food?
Food.
That would be what you would think, that most of our energy comes from food, but it comes from oxygen. Isn't that something? 90% of the energy comes from oxygen and 10% of our energy comes from food. Wow. I was like, I had to read that one again. It says oxygen is mission essential in the electron transport chain that cannot function without oxygen. This is the most most efficient method of converting food to ATP, because you have to get your food in a form that we can use. And that's ATP, and that's little packets of energy. And oxygen is critical for proper brain function. And the brain uses 20% of the body's oxygen. And did you know that cancer, fungi, and anaerobic bacteria cannot thrive in an oxygen-rich environment? So when I increase my deep breathing, increase the oxygen in my body, I'm making it more resistant to those type of undesirables in my system. And then we also know about what? Eat the rainbow? Wonder why? Why is that so important? Anybody know?
Oxygen was used in making them.
Yeah. What kind of foods should you avoid? How many people remember?
Starches.
All right, well, processed carbs. Okay.
Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates.
Okay.
GMO.
What, GMO?
Starch.
Okay, start.
Semi falling in with this, when we think of like flour and bleaching it, you're taking away nutrients, so therefore.
Process.
you're
Processed foods, exactly. Very good. Processed food. What else?
Gluten-rich foods.
Gluten-rich. What about artificial sweeteners? And so that's wonderful, and it sounds good. Eat the rainbow. But did you know that food has light?
Is that like
Yes.
grow?
Well, it has to have light to grow, but when I eat it, there are packets of light that I consume from the food. And did you think, now look at this. Now, you remember seeing Roy G. Biv, the different colors in the spectrum, right? Each color has a different frequency. Each color of the food has a separate frequency. Each organ in our body has a frequency. That's why we even using music therapy, or music, you play the right frequency, you're ministering to a particular organ. And if that organ is out of sync or having challenges in that wavelength, and you subject it to the wavelength of sound outside of the body, resonance occurs. For example, if I play a G string, if I play the note G, and I have another G string anywhere in the room, it will resonate with it. Powerful, okay? It's powerful stuff. So, live plants emit biophotons, because the scientists were wondering, another question from Tai Chi, how do the cells communicate? And it's not a cell phone.
Electricity, it's like you talk about like the battery, is that right?
Kinda. And I said something in particular. How do the cells communicate?
Through light.
Frequency?
How many people came to Tai Chi? Yeah, that's a chemical way of communicating. The scientists learned that, wait a minute, the cells are communicating faster than just with chemicals. It must be something else. Guess what that something is? It's light, photons. Light is faster. So I was like, well, all right. That is just so powerful because it's powerful. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. And the thought about the importance of light. Now, let's move on. Have we learned about sleep, rest, and relaxation by some excellent teachers in this room? Okay, all right. Y'all ready for the quiz? What do you need to have a good night's sleep?
What do I need?
Wait,
I don't need a bed.
darkness? Just a bed. So, quiet,
Darkness.
darkness, mm-hmm.
Cool.
And you might use something like a sleep mask or something to ensure that darkness or blocking out the sun.
Or melatonin.
Melatonin. So that's wonderful because see, we are, as the batteries that we are, we're very sensitive to light. And so when it gets darker, it goes more into your infrared frequencies. And see, what happens there is you have additional, the light stimulates the darkness, stimulates the production of melatonin. So, wow, and that plays into, it's what do you call that little cycle? We had some kind of, the sleep-wake cycle has a fancy name.
Circadian.
Ooh, bingo, circadian rhythm. That is right. That is exactly what happens. The circadian rhythm. And light has a very important role to play in that process. As the sun sets, more light from the red end of the spectrum is present and signals the production of what the chemical of melatonin, as you told me. And why is that important? Because we need sleep to do what?
Replenish our bodies.
Yes, replenish and cleanse the body. All right, now. So sleep is rejuvenating because this is when our bodies burn fat to produce heat in the form of, guess what? Infrared light to accomplish repairs in the body. Okay? Red and near infrared light penetrate deeply into the body's tissue where they can react with what is the powerhouse of the cell? Mitochondria in the cells to trigger energy production. So not only are we repairing, we are producing energy while we sleep. And then far infrared energy can trigger certain reactions in our cells that make it easier for ATP to make its final transfer of energy to the mitochondria. Wow. Can you say wow? And we also talked about movement or exercise. And sometimes we think it's just going to the gym, but oftentimes it's movement throughout the body. I mean, throughout the day, whether you're vacuuming, sweeping, walking in the mall, going to the grocery store, you're walking the aisles, or whatever, movement is what the body needs. Because did you know, when you move, you create energy. Yes. It generates electrical charges in the body by compressing and stretching the body tissues. So even you say, well, Tai Chi is slow, you're not doing much, but you're pulling, you're stretching gently, but you still have that release of the energy that the body needs. Okay? And supports the flow of blood and lymphatic fluid, as we know. Release certain hormones, stimulate melatonin, protect against chronic inflammation, and the list goes on. And what about stress management? We had a wonderful presentation about stress management as well. Name the source of stress that best describe GMOs. Okay, do I need to give an A, B, or C?
Yes.
Is it an interpersonal relation type stress?
Oh,
Is it a,
toxic relationship,
well, not a toxic relationship, where you,
yeah. Toxic.
yeah, it is toxic. So what is it environmental, a chemical stress is what GMO is, okay? So it is a stressor, and all of the things that we learned about in the stress class, we can use to also address our GMO or our environmental and chemical challenges, whether it's meditation and deep breathing, ding, 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 exercises, relaxation, sleeping, making priorities, and sometimes simplifying things. If you just have too many things on the list, you just need to simplify some things. Reduce your caffeine and connect socially, or join a club, or work out, or exercise, or walk with a friend. Okay? Now, stress management, so forth. Now, what do you do when you've done all those things and you still need some additional help? Well, that's what I'll just share with you today. And I heard this word the other day, electroceuticals. I thought, wow. When you use light, laser, or sun, or something as a corrective mechanism. Or you might have a nutraceutical, and that's some of these products up here, just to let you know they exist. I'm not your doctor. I'm not recommending everybody needs these, but I'm just saying it's something that exists, and you can research it and cover it with your doctor, okay? But at least you'll know what products exist and how they might be able to serve you. And no, I don't really have an interest in either one. I mean, if you get something that's not directly, I mean, this is not what I make my money doing. Infoceuticals, and that's called imprinted structured water. And I'll tell you more about that one a little bit later, because we're on the precipice of some things. I have a class to go through to officially present it to you in an integrated manner. Good stuff. So electroceuticals. How many people heard of saunas? What have you heard about them? They're hot? Yeah. What else have you heard about them?
They're relaxing.
Very hot. They are relaxing. And this is one of the saunas on the left. It's an infrared sauna with red solar panels on the front. And at the end, if someone will just sit in it and see what it feels like, you're welcome to do so. Why is that so important? Well, there's a number of reasons, but for our purposes, not only, you're right, somebody said relaxation, yep, that's super for relaxation, health management, social interaction, because some people, some cultures will have like a sweat lodge, groups of people go in a large room, and that's a social event. And then sometimes spiritual development, you go and you meditate and you take your spiritual journey or whatever, and then healing. But the use of environmental or chemical stressors, what happens is in an infrared sauna, you can remove toxic metals, you can eliminate organic chemicals, clearing biological toxins, and eliminating ionizing radiation and anti-aging therapy. So that was helpful. And sometimes, sometimes when we get older, it's harder to sweat, and the sauna helps because oh man, it's just wonderful. I have one like this one in my home. I really enjoy it greatly. And then this one on the side here, that's another, this is full spectrum. This one is a full spectrum. This one is far infrared only. Far infrared is where you get your heat from. Near and mid is not for heat. It's for like skin issues, like if you, like the red light, wrinkles, and if you have a wound or something that needs to be treated. the shorter wavelengths are usually used. But to get the sweat, you have to have the far infrared light. Okay, yes?
In Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
they had a sauna, but it wasn't like phase at all.
Mm-hmm.
They had a rock,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what was up about that rock, but I know that there was water
Mm-hmm.
with it,
Mm-hmm.
and it made you sweat.
Steam. Mm-hmm. Steam.
Steam.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know how they made that rock so hot that it would, I don't know what was under it.
Fire.
You think it was a fire under it?
Fire of some sort, to generate the steam. Yes, steam, and then, like I said, these are infrared, so no, you don't get the steam, but you get the benefit of the infrared spectrum of light. And what else? Oh, okay. And we also talked about the effect of GMOs on the gut. What condition is created when your gut has holes in it? What do we call that? Leaky gut. Very good, very good. And so this is a product that was developed, and actually it's this product right here. It's a liquid, and you can have a little pump top on it. But this helps tighten the gaps when you have leaky gut, or you're exposed to things that may cause leaky gut. Because how many people know exactly where all of their food comes from? Even when they go to a friend's house or to a restaurant, you don't know what's in the food, really. You don't know how much glyphosate you're consuming. So the theory behind this product is, if you can have something that will routinely help just enhance the communication between the cells so that those junctions just stay tight, it is a preventive mechanism. And it's a very simple product, but it's very powerful. So intracellular junctions. And then there's a product out, it's entitled Infoceuticals. And you remember I was saying that the phase 4 of water is able to, they can imprint it, they can put information in it. Similar to music that has a certain frequency that ministers to certain parts, the body had the cell composition of each organ has certain information that they use. I think that's awesome. Because the brain cells and the intestinal cells, they don't work on the same information. Because the gut needs to do something different, and those cells have a different function than the brain, right? So scientists have developed a way to create phase 4 water, and they imprint it with various frequencies. And if you consume it, it ministers to that frequency. And there's a machine here, it's almost like just put your hand on a mouse pad, and it gives you a readout, and it really assesses, just like when you go to the auto dealer, or you take it to the shop and they hook it up and they can tell you, do a diagnostic based on the current or decrease in current or decrease in energy. They say, oh, you have a problem with the blah, 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 because it should be here, but it's here. The same thing. And then you have infoceuticals you can use and other things to minister to the frequency. And this is like a vibration type frequency, a different frequency for different muscles, and get the kinks out, all that kind of stuff. Phenomenal. And then we have, this is Biomedic. And this is another product, and it's just a tablet. You take one of these tablets and you look at the very, very simple ingredients. But what it does is, as they would say, it's like a broom, and it sweeps the intestines. So like if you have glyphosate, it sweeps it away. So it moves from the body. So it does not have time to do the damage that it can. And I thought that was wonderful. I have one other just brief snippet here that will serve also as a summary of what we talked about. And let's see.
are coming to you live from an emergency meeting of the Million Mom Movement for a major announcement regarding food safety. Let's go inside the auditorium.
It looks like the meeting is about to begin. The first speaker is taking the stage now.
Thank you all for attending this emergency session of the Million Mom Movement. It's time to educate the world about a new crisis in our food supply. A crisis that affects 75% of the food we eat every day. Breakfast cereal, chips, spaghetti sauce, bread, soup, ice cream. Even conventional fruits and vegetables have been tainted with the residue of a potentially toxic chemical. And meal after meal, day after day, year after year, we, as mothers, have been feeding our families this compromised food. And we now know that it could compromise the health of every single American. The link is clear, the data is clear, and it's frightening. Increase in herbicide usage equals disease growth. The World Health Organization, the National Academy of Science, and now the state of California have all discovered a commonly used herbicide to be highly toxic and even carcinogenic. Toxic and causes cancer. This chemical was originally intended to be used to grow GMO foods. GMO means genetically altered, and since GMOs are everywhere, so is this chemical. So, here today is our special guest gastroenterologist to explain the problem.
To understand the problem, we must understand that this chemical is designed to kill all organisms that are not GMO. Unfortunately, when we eat foods grown with it can also kill off the vital organisms that live in our gut, our microbiome. When that happens, our microbiome begins to die.
The microbiome? What is that?
Great question. The microbiome may be the most important part of our body that you've never heard about. It's commonly known as the gut, but scientists refer to it as our second brain. The microbiome is also responsible for 80% of our immune response. Plus, most nutrient absorption and detoxification takes place in a healthy microbiome. And if your microbiome is dying, so
Well, what can we do about it?
for that, I will turn you back over to our moderator, who has some life-changing news to share.
Thank you, Doctor. As you can see, we just learned a compromised or dying microbiome is a serious problem. And this demanded a serious answer, which is why we created Biomedic. Biomedic is the ultimate support and repair system to reverse the damage done to the microbiome. Biomedic does 3 important things. 1, it removes the toxic chemical from your microbiome that causes the damage to begin with.
It supports the good bacteria to boost your immunity. It rebuilds the villi for better nutrient absorption and weight loss. This will help create a vibrant microbiome and restore your body to its natural state of health.
So, we've identified the problem. The problem is a compromised microbiome. We've identified the cause, a toxic herbicide that is in 75% of the foods we eat. And most importantly, we have found the solution. This is a product that can be used every day by the entire family. Now, we need to let the world know.
Wow, that is powerful. So how do you know if you have a damaged microbiome?
Ask yourself, do you have skin issues, feel foggy-headed, get tired easily, get headaches, have joint pain, difficulty losing weight?
Well, I guess everyone will be asking, where can I get this new Biomedic product?
Only one place. The same person who shared this video with you. There may even be a $50 gift card for you.
No, I'll tell you the website. It's something I signed up for, and those 2 products are products that I do use, but once again, I'm not your doctor, as someone would say. But, check, at least you know it's out there, and then you do your research, and then get with your healthcare provider, and if that's a challenge for you. So, a quick summary. So, there's political action, and usually that's outside of us, voting, or protest, or against GMO, or do political action. But then you have consumer action, becoming more educated, purchasing non-GMO, organic and naturally grown. And then there's personal action, your Press 360, the personal plan that you assemble that works for you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What about hydroponic tomatoes?
Hydroponic, actually, they should be good, just as good as the food that you feed them. And if you have a high quality food, it is possible that they could even be more nutritious than an organic tomato grown in depleted soil. So yes.
There's a man up in Guthrie, Kentucky that raises.
Yes. Does he come to the farmer's market here? I was gonna say, I used to get some hydroponic.
Does he call it GMO or
Organic?
organic? Does he call?
And also it depends on the seeds. If it's organic seeds, that's what I really should have said, and to even start it off versus which is better or worse. If it's your seeds, sometimes it's organic seeds, and sometimes if it's not organic seeds, it's not an organic plant. Or some people will say heirloom seeds, which are usually organic, but once again, you have to ask, because sometimes they throw their words around. But yeah, did that answer your question? Very good. Any other questions, comments? And these are some just different products. This is a water purifier pitcher type that also produces phase 4 water. And let's see, grounding. You may have, some people have gotten grounding mats in here, and just a plethora of things you can come. And there's a lot of books up here. Feel free to look at them. They're mine from my personal library, so I'll take them.
When you're talking about that water, is that the zero water? That's just because it's pure. It's just, I mean, it's just it's supposed
I'm not
to.
really sure what zero water means, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's, I mean, like the 0-calorie sodas. It's something catchy. Because sometimes you just gotta be.
Well, you come through the tester now. You got different, like those pictures, and it's got a test. It tested at zero. The purity is supposed to be 100% or 99.
Okay. I mean, now if you use a water particle
But
tester.
that's not what he's talking about, the guy.
Oh, no. He's talking about structure.
How do you get structured water? What is?
Well, you can get a picture that actually makes it, or you can do more research about how to.
Okay.
Because now, sometimes it's research it. I don't have the absolute answer on that.
No, the whole thing, when you're looking at this, it's almost like this is science fiction, but it's not fiction.